Listen, there's been a lot of viral videos this week, and you've been responsible for one of them. You broke the internet this week in an interview with LBC presenter Matthew Wright. You were on the phone, he was in the studio, and he challenged you to apologise for Brexit. Let's take a listen to the exchange.
Just tell us which ones were bad, because a lot of EU regulations are really sensible, so I'm just interested out of the thousands and thousands.
I don't know what,
so you don't know which ones are bad, we just throw them all out?
I didn't say that. I'm sorry, Matthew. I'm not going to continue with this because I didn't say that.
And unemployment is up.
And it was never up when we were in the EU.
It also went down when we were in the EU. 4 million with Margaret Thatcher to 1 million just before we left. I mean, you're just not telling the truth, Anne, are you?
Matthew, right, what you won't do is let me have a word in their choice.
You've had 4 minutes non-stop, Anne.
That's not true. First of all, Anne, can you tell me about the nature of that interview and your experience of it?
He was exceptionally rude. And I'm very disappointed by that because I quite like Matthew Wright, but he was exceptionally rude. I think he's one of those people who, as a friend of mine put it today, you know, maybe a nice chap, but when it comes to Brexit, he's got religion. And he simply can't understand why everybody doesn't share his view. And that was what was coming over today. Every time I tried to make a point, he interrupted. He said at the end I'd had 4 minutes on the trot. The whole interview was 4 minutes. And a great deal of it was his interruptions. I hadn't had 4 minutes on the trot. Very rarely, there was one instance where he did when I was explaining Project Fear. But apart from that, he just would not let me finish a sentence. And he tried to suggest that I was saying things I wasn't saying. So if I start off by saying I can't, then he immediately jumps in and says, oh, you can't tell us which ones are bad. Well, I went on to later on. But I just find it extraordinary that there are people who are so resentful of a democratic vote that they can't even conduct an interview in a professional manner. I thought he was very rude. I'm still considering whether to complain to LBC, but I probably won't bother.
Did he have a point when he said that actually the EU regulations are mostly sensible and we would probably adopt them anyway?
Oh, we wouldn't get rid of the sensible ones. I mean, we always made that quite clear. But now we're being told that thousands are about to be ditched, presumably because they're not sensible. And the point that I was making was, you know, we haven't yet had Brexit. Why is it taking us more than 4 years to ditch these regulations when we could have done most of them in the first 4 months? We simply have not got Brexit as we envisaged Brexit, which was a proper divergence. Not convergence, but divergence between us and the EU. Of course, I mean, it's not a point, it's a statement of the blinking obvious to say that not all EU regulations were stupid, and it's also a statement of the obvious to say that some of our own regulations, which were independent of the EU, were stupid. But nevertheless, that is not a reason for saying that we shouldn't be getting rid of those that we don't need. And if ever you wanted to see a stupid regulation that we produced and the EU didn't, it was that actually we should all ensure, and I'm serious about this, I said it in Hansard, it's perfectly true, that we should all ensure that when we provide litter boxes for our cats, we take, and I quote, cognizance of the animal's preference for privacy. That was us, not the EU, even they aren't that daft.